Decades after the start of programs to help, Black Americans today continue to face poverty and unemployment at a rate higher than any other race. This week on Full Measure, Sharyl Attkisson looks at one city that tried to help the problem starting in the 1960s, and that city is our city of Rochester. Sharyl, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What did you find out?
Well, it's so interesting. I think I found out a lot about what some residents there have long known. There's a large, of course, minority population there, but 50, 60 years ago, Rochester was on the forefront of a lot of jobs initiatives. These were in partnership with some of your big companies like Kodak to try to provide opportunities and hope for African Americans amid a lot of racial strife, rioting that was going on. So all these years later, a lot of people there are asking the same question being asked in other American cities. Why didn't these well-meaning programs have the long-lasting impact that so many people hoped for? And I'm going to talk to people that may be familiar with some people who live there, like Dennis Bassett, a former Kodak executive, one of the highest-ranking African Americans at Kodak during this time period. Also, former mayor. I talked to the current mayor. I speak to the people who own Panther Graphics, which is a black-owned business in Rochester. We're going to have, I think, a really good package of lessons learned looking forward as to what other communities can do too.
What was your takeaway from talking to all these people in terms of stepping forward? Because we talk about how some of these programs just did not help. Are people learning the lessons of those failures?
Well, it's very interesting because unprompted, more than one person said to me, it's not a function of money. Money has just been poured in for programs, so that's not the issue. Same with the schools. You know, the schools there, the public schools are having so many challenges, some of the worst performing in the nation, but some of the most well-funded. So they say it's about not funding bad programs, continuing to fund them. And it's a lot more, I think the biggest takeaway I had, it's one thing to open up doors and on paper offer jobs, but the people there were telling me you can't really make progress if you're opening up a $100,000 a year job or an $80,000 a year job to someone who's not qualified to get it, or who gets the job and doesn't have the skill set to advance within the organization. Or you can't get somebody, I was told, a $50,000 loan who doesn't have education and experience and expect that to make them successful. So it's more than just kind of on paper opening doors. There's got to be a lot more to it.
Did you also get a sense, I'm curious, for the resilience and pride of this community when it comes to making these things function and work for the people here?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing that I got at Panther Graphics, which is a long-standing black-owned business, very successful. I guess I would call it a small business. I got to visit the floor and speak with the owner's daughter, who's going to be taking over someday, and some of the people who work there. And really, it's not as though there are no success stories, certainly in Rochester. There are many of them, but it's not proportionate to the effort that's been put into this initiative that they would like to have, where they take many more people in the community out of poverty. And I know it's linked to other things. There are crime issues, like in many cities, and other challenges there. But I think the story this week gets at the root of a lot of the basics that have to be addressed before the city can move forward and say, how do we do this and really make it stick this time?
Yeah, an important conversation for sure, and we appreciate you putting the spotlight on Rochester. Sharyl, good to talk to you today. Thank you.
You too. Take care.
And Full Measure airs at 9:30 Sunday morning on 13 WHAM, and again at 10 a.m. And 10:30 p.m. on Fox Rochester. For a behind-the-scenes look at Sharyl's stories and investigations, you can look up the podcast Full Measure After Hours wherever you listen to podcasts. Family, well, the Rochester Museum and Science Center may have just the thing.
The museum has a live animal exhibit this week. Perfect for Sam. He's there right now giving us a preview.
Live animal expert.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, indeed. I didn't even have to write that one. Thanks, Matt. You're catching on. I appreciate you. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a blinder. I'm going to get right to it because this is a really, really cool day. I'm joined by Sarah on my left and Tiffany on my right. And most importantly, I'm joined by my guy, Nash. Nash is a New Guinea singing dog, and he's all a part of this new live animal exhibit at the Rochester Museum and Science Center. Sarah, talk to me. What kind of animal is Nash?
So Nash is a New Guinea singing dog. He comes from New Guinea or Indonesia. There's very few left in the wild. And in captivity, there's about 100 to 200. Fossils have been found of his species, and they actually go back to 6,000 years ago.
So cool.
So you're basically looking at a living fossil. Kinda,
exactly. He's too cute to be a fossil.
Right.
Tiffany, what do people need to know about Nash? Because Nash, he looks like, a dog you'd find in your house.
Yeah. So a lot of times what happens, especially in the wildlife trade, is we think that we're getting these really cute, sweet animals.
Sure.
And, Nash is still a wild dog. He looks really sweet. He looks like you could go pet him, but he could snap at any moment. In fact,
we're not doing that.
Yeah, he's got this really cool molar that he uses.
And that's one of the things that sets him apart biologically from, say, a dog that's sleeping on the end of your bed at night.
Yes, only he and wolves have it.
Now, he's called a singing dog. And we did this off camera and it worked beautifully. And it would be so much like live TV for him not to do it. But I got two really helpful people in the background who's going to play a siren noise. Now, he has a very unique thing. He's called a singing dog for a reason. Can we hit that?
Want to see him? What's that?
Got the two people singing here. Now, you were telling me off camera that he makes that sound to kind of locate his pack in the wild, right?
The rest of his pack, yeah. And they all will do different pitches, and they'll harmonize together.
That is so cool. And you were saying that it's similar to the kind of sounds a humpback whale would make.
Yes,
right?
yes. When they do, when do they do the...
Yep, so if you actually would look at a sonogram with the pitches of his voice and yodels, it's going to be very similar to the humpback whale.
Oh, that is so cool. Guys, you can check out animals just like Nash and many more that we're going to be featuring all morning here at the Rochester Museum and Science Center on East Avenue in the city of Rochester, the famous place. You all know where it is, guys. Check it out Monday to Sunday, 11 to 3. Tons of activities to do along with it. I'm super excited to be here for the rest of the morning. Different animal every half hour, guys. This is going to be so cool. You are such a sweet boy.
What a beautiful dog.
Yeah.
I was also having trouble deciphering between the human sounds and the dog sounds for a minute.
Is that how we can just find each other around here?
Yes.
I'm just going to start howling. You'll know it's me.
All right, we'll check back in with Sam in a little bit. There is a new and growing problem for law enforcement. Ghost guns are on the rise. The weapons are virtually untraceable. And as 13 WHAM's Matt Malloy explains, the number of ghost guns recovered in Rochester nearly tripled in just 1 year. This is one of dozens of ghost guns recovered by Rochester police since 2020. It looks like any other handgun, but with one key difference.
It doesn't have serial numbers on it, makes it not traceable at all for law enforcement.
The guns require assembly after they are purchased, allowing them to evade state and federal gun laws, including background checks. When shipped, they're about 80% complete.
It's already easy for somebody to get their hands on an illegal gun, and this just makes it easier when you can go to a website and order the parts and put them together yourself.
Rochester police recovered 16 ghost guns in 2020, that number jumping to 45 in 2021. And this year, 6 ghost guns have already been recovered.
It's the loophole, right? It's the workaround. It's the way that we've used technology in the worst element, right? In the criminal element.
Senator Jeremy Cooney co-sponsored a new law that starts April 1st, targeting ghost guns in New York State.
These are on the rise. I've spoken to RPD as well. And, while it's not a large percentage of the current guns that use in the process of committing a crime, they are on the rise. And so we want to get ahead of this.
The new law bans the sale and possession of ghost guns. Cooney says it is another tool for law enforcement.
If we can reduce the number of these guns or increase the penalties for the use of these types of weapons, well, that may dissuade individuals from purchasing parts or assembling them through 3D printing.
One of the challenges for police is tying ghost guns back to crimes.
The only way that we're going to be able to trace this gun back to an actual crime is by in the lab with the rifling of the barrel, matching that to ballistic evidence, which makes it extremely difficult to do. You go from something scientific to very simply looking at a serial number and punching that serial number into the computer.
Similar laws to combat ghost guns have already been enacted in several states, including Connecticut and New Jersey. And there are growing calls for the ATF to regulate them. But eliminating them completely is unlikely.
Yes, it will help that we've made another law kind of banning the production and the sale of them in New York State. But the reality of it is that if a criminal wants to get their hands on something, they're going to do that anyways. It doesn't matter what laws are on the books.